So today I want to talk about how much training should your player be doing depending on their age, depending on their level, what should be a good rule for them to follow. And I hate to say this because it's going to sound like a cop out, but really it just depends on the player. What I think is more important than following a generic rule from a coach is what is your player doing? How are they improving? What is more important to me rather than saying this is how many hours a player should be training? It is what kind of training are they putting into those hours? And it's so easy. As a young player, I got caught into this too. I thought I had to put in hour after hour after hour after hour at the field. And, at a certain point, it was diminishing returns, right? Because I was so tired and I wasn't really getting the most out of the workout or out of the training as I could have been. So what I much rather a player do is really, really be detailed and focused with the time that they go put in. So if they're going to go put in, if they're going to train Monday through Friday and they're going to train for 30 minutes each day, I want them to know exactly what they're going to do within that 30 minutes. So maybe 30 minutes, they're going to be doing 30 minutes of wall work and they're going to be doing volley drills, one touch, two touch, smashing them off against the wall, getting used to having a good cushioning first touch, right? If they're going to do shooting, they know exactly what kind of shooting they're going to do. They're going to line up the balls and they're going to focus on their technique and hitting the ball in a certain way every single time. Or they're going to do long balls, or they're going to work on ball mastery, right? I'd rather them do that than go out and say, okay, we're going to train for an hour and a half every single day. And it's not something that they can sustain, or it's something that ends up causing buildup or burnout. And I'd really rather a player fall in love with just trying to get better and to spend time with the ball and to enjoy and appreciate it. But even if they're not there yet, that they just start off where they are. They start off with spending 15 minutes, and in that 15 minutes, they're going to put in a whole heck of a lot of work. One thing I really love doing in my training session is a ball mastery circuit that lasts anywhere from 10 to 12 to 8 minutes. And within that 8 minutes, I guarantee you those players are gasping, bending over for breath. And they're like, oh my gosh, coach, this is so tiring. And I love to hear that because I'm like, if you guys did this type of work every single day, imagine how much better that you would be, even if you're not doing anything else. If you're just doing this, if you were just being consistent with it every single day, you would see so much more growth in your game. And the players who do, they are consistent with it. They do see the growth. They take off. They improve. But it doesn't have to be, I'm going to spend, 15 hours a week. Or I'm going to spend 20 hours a week. I'm going to spend 25 hours a week. It doesn't have to be that long. One quick story before we head out. I just saw, and I may have talked about this last week or a couple of weeks ago, but I just saw that video after the U.S. lost the semifinal game. The U.S. women's national team lost the semifinals to go to the gold place medal match in the Olympics. And they're interviewing Megan Rapinoe. Don't really remember what she said, but what you can see in the background is a U.S. player running sprints. And you know who that player is? Carli Lloyd. And I love, 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 and I know I may have said the story before. I love, love, love her work. And she does it her own way. She's different. She does lots of long runs. She does hill workouts, sprint, plyos, body weight stuff. She does so many stuff that's different, and it's kind of old school. It's a kind of not necessarily scientifically back or data driven or this or that, but she does it and she takes care of her body and it's what works for her. And she says that's the way that she feels the best. That's the way that she feels that she can play to the very best of her ability. She does some other things that a lot of people might not agree with, and a lot of things that might kind of go against prevailing wisdom, which is that she likes to go into games like hungry, right? Like actually hungry. People have pregame meals. Carli Lloyd does not. And I just think I'm smiling because, most people want you want to get more data, you want to figure out, but at some point you have to understand how your body works and how your body is going to perform at the best. And it may not make sense data wise, it may not be what everybody else is doing, but you have to know what works for you. If you're to say, if you are a player, if you're a parent of a player, you can't tell them, they have to figure out for themselves what is working and what is not working. And they need to understand that it's going to be difficult sometimes, and you're going to get some pushback sometimes on the way you do things. But if you are seeing success, if what you're doing is working, then don't be afraid to stick to it. Don't be afraid to keep working, to keep trying to improve, to keep trying to grind away. If you feel the best after long runs before games and you play to the best of your ability and you're not letting yourself down or your teammates down, then go ahead, go for a long run. Who's to tell you that that doesn't work? Now you have to understand that if it's not working and if you do get better information, then you need to get that, you need to use that information. But if it is working, don't let the pressure from anybody else stop you. So I'm telling you this, if your player is one of those players that you can't keep the ball from them and they train, they're always touching, they're always outside, pass the ball against the wall, they're always out there doing stuff. And if you counted up all the hours that they were training, they might be training 25, 30 hours every week. Crazy, crazy. But if that's something that they love to do and they just can't stop doing it, like whether you, the story of Carli Lloyd should tell you that whether you try to stop them or not, they're going to go out there and do it. They're just going to be one of those players who are just going to grind. If that's your player, applaud it. Help them to realize that obviously that there's more to life than just soccer, but also appreciate that work ethic, because that is few and far between. If it's one of these things that their player is, feeling like they're getting left behind, then encourage them to go out and say, hey, this is in your hands, buddy. This is in your hand, bucko. Like whatever you want to do, you can do, but you need to work at it. You need to put in the time and you need to make sure that you're doing your very best to achieve it. So that's all I have for today. Hopefully this episode will give you a little insight. I wish I could tell you 5-year-olds, you could do this. 10 years old, you can do this. 15-year-olds, you can do this. All this stuff. I wish I could give you that, but every player is different. Every person is different and it's their own journey. What I much rather say is, instead of what are you putting in, how many hours are you putting into training, rather what training are you putting in to your hours. So yeah, let me know. Feel free to get back to me.